You're very special, kid. I agreed to take you back to your own kind, so that's what I need to do. And they're gonna take real good care of you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to You'll Probably Agree. I need to get my mind off of all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world today. And, you know, one of the best things that happened, I think, in 2020 was season 2 of The Mandalorian. It was something that we really needed, and now Disney is capitalizing on that and really taking things in a direction where hopefully they're not repeating history, and maybe they're also actually doing something quite different, but we shall see. But to talk about that, I brought in a man who truly knows his material when it comes to comic books, when it comes to all things nerd related, just like me. Emmanuel Noisette from Eman's Movie Reviews is on. Thank you so much, Eman, for coming on to do this.
Well, thank you so much for the invite. I really do appreciate it.
Anytime, man. So this was quite a series. For you, like as a, I'm gonna guess you're a big Star Wars fan. What was like your favorite sort of like big fan service moment when it came to this show?
You know, I mean, I guess the obvious thing would be the Skywalker stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, that I mean, that's like the easiest one, you know, but spoiler alert for anyone.
At this point, like you'd have to live under a rock to not know this stuff. Like it's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, I think that's the most obvious one. And, you know, just to kind of give you a little context of what type of Star Wars fan I am, I think I'm like the above average casual fan. And by that, I mean, I've just immersed myself in everything Star Wars except the comics and novels. Those things, I just have like a loose understanding of what happened. You know, I might read about it, but I haven't read them. But watched all the movies multiple times and watched all the spin-off series and stuff as well, including you know, Clone Wars and Rebels. So
You're caught up.
For me, yeah. I mean, for the most part, I'm caught up. But I think the biggest moment outside of the Luke thing was definitely Ahsoka. Bringing Ahsoka in, you know, and the reason why I think that was the bigger payoff was because we had more time invested with Ahsoka's character because of the series in Clone Wars and in Rebels. So to have someone that we spent so much time with, and I would say probably more time than we've had with Luke even, it was just amazing. And on top of that, which is a rare occasion, by the way, they cast a fan favorite with Rosario Dawson. I mean, how many times their fans are like, yo, we want this person, and studios are like, nah.
Yeah.
You know, so that to me was like the best moment, and I was just geeking out.
Yeah, it's funny because I think with Thrawn, everybody has their preference. You know, like I some people wanted Benedict Cumberbatch, where I'm like, no, that's going to be too much like Star Wars Into Darkness. Right. But if you get like Michael Fassbender, I'd love it. But I'm going to guess they're going to go with somebody we don't know. That's usually the Star Wars tradition. The usual
for Thrawn's voice. For live action Thrawn?
Yes, for live action Thrawn. Yeah.
You know what? The funny thing though is like with Clone Wars, I feel like they were so intentional with like everyone that they cast. So like look at Katie Sackhoff who played Bo-Katan. Like they made her character resemble Katie Sackhoff, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
I forget what the other guy's name. He's phenomenal.
Clone Wars or Rebels?
I binged the whole thing, so it kind of blends in. I think he was more so in Rebels. He was like that mayor or governor or something like that. He used to voice Lex Luthor in the Justice League animated series. But either way, they made their characters look like the real actors. And the guy who did Thrawn, Lars Mikkelsen, I'm like, I think he could do it. You know, I mean, put a couple years on Thrawn, of course. But I think he could do it, you know, and just having that voice there would man, it always gave me shivers because Ron was he was an eerie guy.
He was very cold, cool, collected, and the calmer they are, the scarier they are, because they know what they're doing. You know, they don't get mad and go on Twitter raids. Sorry. Yeah, but yes. You know, you're not going to see... Darth Vader would be more susceptible to that. The more we know about Vader, the dumber we know he is, you know, as a person. Just more vulnerable to easy, quick to go to emotions rather than something else. But the way they introduced Ahsoka was wonderful because everybody was sort of expecting this last minute sort of cameo appearance where she turns to the camera, says no, like 2 seconds in. Yeah, like she's in, she's killing guys. Right there, we're like, okay, we're in the story. But
we're doing this.
Yeah, Dave Filoni's name is attached to it. Yeah. So we know it's gonna be something. I think the great thing is with the show is that they're digging from the expanded universe, and people who are not initiated with it are introduced to things that they might be curious about and might want to dig in a little more and do some research. I mean, for me, my favorite fan service moment was the return of Boba Fett because he was a guy who was actually introduced through the holiday special and then was later, you know, brought into the films. Actually, he was initially in A New Hope with the deleted scene with Jabba that they ended up replacing with the special editions. You know, Jabba was originally played by like this fat Irish guy or something like that. And like Boba comes in at the end, and then they put but long story short, they finally gave Boba Fett sort of the respect that a fan base wanted. Maybe not quite towards George Lucas's vision, because he just thought he was kind of like an accessory for toys, but it was gratifying to see that, hey, here are some guys who are Star Wars fans. They get what you love, and they love it too, and they're not just kind of condescendingly giving you fan service like maybe the sequel trilogies did at a certain point, where, you know, he has his John Wick moment where he's wiping out all the stormtroopers. He, you know, repaints his armor. You know, he has the one and of course they introduce the new show, which I have faith in. But for me, that was very gratifying to see.
No, that's a good point, because honestly, like, my first introduction to Boba Fett was, you know, through the movies. You know, so I was sitting here thinking that I kind of missed the boat, because a lot of older fans were like, oh my gosh, like growing up, Boba Fett was like the coolest thing. I wanted a jetpack and all of that. And I'm watching, you know, the older movies, and I know it's through a newer lens or whatever, but I'm still sitting here like, I don't get why he was so hyped up, you know. So bringing in the Mandalorian and showing him off, you know, not to mention, of course, the Clone Wars also helped, you know, as well, but like just kind of seeing him in his element, now I'm like, yep, I get it. Like, now I get why you guys like him, and I like him too. I get it.
And really, they did nothing to make him that cool originally. Like, he just looked cool. Like, the most he did in the Star Wars holiday special was talk about some dinosaur, and he had like the big like giant gun that Din Djarin uses on the show. But like outside of that, he just stood around and looked cool. And then through the expanded universe, they had him do cool stuff because he just had that attractive sort of appearance to him. But it wasn't until The Mandalorian where like I don't know if you saw behind the scenes stuff, but like Robert Rodriguez, like when they gave him the script to the episode called The Tragedy, I can't remember because it goes like, how many episodes per season? 8. So that was like episode 6 then, because that was like the third, and then then they had the martini, and then the finale. So with the third one, you know, that's when they brought in Rodriguez, and his pitch. They didn't have Boba Fett have this huge action scene, so Robert Rodriguez, he didn't have the previs kit available at his will, so he just grabbed some action figures, you know, with like a Boba Fett and the Stormtrooper action figures, and he kind of like recreated the whole thing, and then he like showed it, and then I think Favreau went, "Oh, this is weird," and then he's going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just didn't have the previs." And Favreau went, "No, you don't get it. This is the best way to represent this because people grow up with these toys, and you're doing exactly what the fans would do. This is awesome."
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah. So I just love that. But I guess like when we go into the show though, like how does it balance when it comes to their own force, sort of like the fan service, where it's like fanboy service with like actual like, oh no, you're respecting us, like you're doing this right.
So here's my thing, because I think that's a very tricky line to tread, right? So I think the very first season was for any and all newcomers, right? Like it was literally for anyone. If you're an old fan, new fan, whatever, if you were just curious, you can jump into the Mandalorian season 1, and you really don't need a lot of backstory, you don't really need a lot of the references or whatever. You could just jump right in. And I like that. I like that just because it was a very good way to attract people, right? Now, second season, it started getting heavier.
Yes.
Like when people asked me, people started asking me, like, yo, like, can I just jump into season 2? And I'm like, no.
Kind of, yeah.
You could, but you're going to miss out on like a higher percentage of the references and context and backstories. So for example, when I was doing like my breakdown videos, I found myself kind of having to explain stuff more just in case, because I knew there were some people just jumping in because of all the hype. So like talking about Bo-Katan, Planet Mandalore, and like how their culture operates and stuff. A lot of that stuff was explored in Clone Wars. Now, from a business perspective, this is perfect. This is what makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, you have that introductory, in the first season. Second season is kind of like, hey, don't know what they're talking about? Go watch our other stuff. So that's a great way to invest people in. But I do think that, from a fan perspective, sometimes it can become a crutch to rely too much on the fan service, right? Like, obviously we know that this is in the Star Wars world. We get that. But it does become a little problematic, and I think stagnant for the story if it relies too much on the past or other things. So for me, when it comes to the balance, I don't mind the balance with the fan service and stuff, as long as it pushes the narrative forward and we all discover new things. So, and one more point just to make, one of my grievances, like with Star Wars in general and the fandom, is the fact that like there's always like this divide between like casuals and the hardcores, and like the issue is kind of like the hardcores know all the expanded universe and legend stuff, and the casuals like myself, like that just wasn't in there for us, or we just weren't in it. And my thing is like, what I loved about The Mandalorian is that it brought everybody together because we were all discovering new things at the same time. So I do want that to keep happening. And if you balance that with fan service, I don't care about the balance at that point. As long as we're all discovering new stuff, you can keep on doing the fanboy service if you want to, but I'm more concerned about pushing the limits of the story and the plot so we all discover and go on a new journey.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful point, because the level I'm at with a Star Wars fan is that the only real sort of expanded universe I truly discovered was that there was a bounty hunter novel and an X-Wing novel that I read a little bit of, but I don't remember much because I was so young. I fell into the whole Shadows of the Empire thing because that was like a huge like marketing thing for 20th Century Fox before they were going to unleash the special edition and the prequels, I believe in like 95 or something like that. But overall, like, I got a lot of the references because I played Dark Forces and I knew stuff like that. But the great thing was, like, when I'm watching this, I'm kind of going, well, how are people who don't understand this stuff going to get it? And how are they going to get it without Star Wars fans like me, like, being snobby assholes, like giving people shit about it. Because I remember I think it was like the Ahsoka episode came out, I think on like Thanksgiving.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, like it was the night after Thanksgiving, you know, I had my turkey and my alcohol and all that, and I'm watching the episode with my brother-in-law, who he's like a Star Wars fan, but he just knows the stuff like within the movies, and he has a ton of stuff. So I'm looking at my phone. I didn't see Ahsoka kill the first guy, but I put my head up and I see her face pop up on screen. And I go, "Oh shit!" And my brother-in-law's like, "What?" I'm like, "It's fucking Ahsoka!" Yeah.
Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Just some orange chick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think for someone like him, he might get curious, although I begged him to watch the television, like the cartoon series and stuff, and he's like, "I don't want to watch that cartoon."
Right.
And I'm like, "Dude, you don't get it. Like, you get to see how Darth Maul gets his legs and shit. It's crazy."
It gets better.
Yeah. Just skip the first season, go halfway through the second season. It gets so good. And like you said, wonderful point. Through a business perspective, Disney's going, okay, we want to open people's curiosity. We want them to go, well, who is this Ahsoka girl? What is the story behind Mandalore? Well, here's the Clone Wars. Go watch this. That way you can subscribe to us for longer, and while you're getting caught up with that, our new series will come along, and then you'll be even more invested, or vice versa. And I think with that, it's they did a great way of balancing the fan service while also like everything seemed to make sense. Like the way they introduced Boba Fett, he could have just come in there and Boba Fett's there, and you're like, what? But the way they did it is, they had Timothy Oliphant's character who kind of played like the sheriff as he plays in everything, but does wonderfully so. I love Timothy.
He loves that role.
Yes, he's great at it. I mean, I am a Deadwood fanatic. I watched like all 3 seasons before seeing the movie, which I like saw initially as a kid. So like, cocksucker was just naturally in my vernacular. Timothy Oliphant's great at that. They do a great job of casting people who are not Star Wars fans, who are in Star Wars. I mean, you could think of, Bill Burr, how are you? In there. And, they do a great job of showing like this is something for the casuals and something for the hardcores, and we find balance in the Force in the middle. The Luke Skywalker thing initially I had a problem with, because I mean, A, the CGI, B, it was just easy to put Luke in there. They could have had someone on Luke's behalf come in and pick up the child, but
I kind of liked it only like I gave it a pass. Only because it was a phenomenal way for them to keep things under wraps. Yeah. Because there was a good chance that, like, someone on the staff or crew could have leaked that information, right? But if you just have, like, a stunt double or whatever just in there, and then all of a sudden you go to the special effects department when there's, like, 3 people in there and be like, hey, deep fake Luke's face right now. That is a perfect way, because that caught everyone by surprise. No one knew that. There were no leaks, no rumors, nothing. And I was just sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh, this kind of reminds me of like the I don't want to say pre-internet days, but pre-social media days where like clickbait wasn't like the thing and everyone didn't have to be first with stuff. And we were genuinely surprised with that stuff. Could you imagine if we walked into The Mandalorian season 2 and like Boba Fett was a surprise, Ahsoka was a surprise, and Luke was a surprise?
Now that would have been incredible.
Collective stuff. It'd be a mind-blowing experience. But we knew about 2/3 of those like 3, 4, or 5 months before, because of news and stuff. So
and I think Luke,
like everybody would have just blown our minds.
I think Luke was rumored a while ago, and I'm going, they're not dumb enough to do that. I'm tired of the Skywalkers. I don't want to see any more Skywalkers. But it worked because we know that Luke trains them, and then everyone gets slaughtered. But I don't think we're gonna see Grogu's decapitated corpse, in the show.
The only thing I've ever made an exception for, because I'm with you. Like I was also tired of the Skywalkers. Like, I was just like, yo, we got their story. It's enough. Like we get it. I had my time with them. I loved them all. It's a beautiful story when you look at all 6, 7, 8 movies and the spin-off shows and stuff. It's a big galaxy though. Can we go a little bit further out?
Yeah.
But the one exception I do make is I've always wanted to see younger Luke and his adventures. I know they had, the comic series for it, but I'm like, that is something, if you want to go the fan route, Sebastian Stan or whoever, that's what we can use. If you really have to keep milking this cow, of Luke Skywalker, that's the only thing I want to see. That's all I want to see is young Luke in exile, being at the peak of his powers, give me that.
Now I'm wondering if there was subliminal imagery with the Last Jedi where Luke is milking that big walrus, and it's kind of like, we've already milked this.
I was about to say some green milk, but I didn't go that far.
Was it green? I don't know. Did I get Christopher Nolan color blindness when I saw it? I'm not sure. Yeah, but
it wasn't white.
Yeah. Yes. No, it was not white. Oh boy, that would have been a very different movie. You think? Oh God, there's a lot of people who've been kind of sounding the air horn, saying they should fire Kathleen Kennedy. She doesn't know what she's doing. Do you think if they replaced her with Filoni and Favreau, that would be a good option?
I mean, I am not a fan of how she handled Solo.
Yeah.
With Phil and Lord, because I personally believe that Solo would have been a 10 times better movie with Phil and Lord, doing it. I mean, we've seen the work they could do with, the Lego stuff and with other properties. So, I think they dropped the ball with that. However, I don't feel as though there's been, I also, I'm thinking about it because I'm thinking about, like, she was also in charge of the new trilogy as well. That was a fumble. Yeah. Also, like, these are like the 3, titans of your film franchise, and you literally have one job, and that is to make them and make sure it's a smooth process. Yeah. I forget who the director was that dropped out of Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, that was Colin Trevorrow. Tomato.
So that right there to me was kind of like, what are you doing? First you have the Lord and Miller issue. Now you're losing the last director, and like the last movie is in disarray. And then you buckle under the pressure of the criticisms against Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And you allow, basically, because I know J.J. Abrams was also an executive producer on top of that, but you allow J.J. to just go ahead and cater to a lot of that fan service at the expense of not only the narrative, but also the editing and some of the actors. Kelly Tran, for example, getting like severely sidelined, know, and I'm just sitting here like, you know what? A lot of this happened under your watch. I'm not saying you should be fired for nothing, but I do think that you probably could benefit stepping aside. Yeah. I'd probably say step aside. I don't want to say fire, only because I look at what happens at DC and Warner Brothers. They dropped the ball multiple times. Multiple times, and people got fired. A lot of that had to do with interference. Like they would actually meddle with the movies and the stuff like that. But you also saw the fact that they shifted gears, and they were just kind of like, okay, you know what, Jeff Johns, instead of you being like the head architect, why don't you just go be in charge of this over here? Like, let's just kind of reshuffle a little bit, I think with Kathleen, I would be more apt to do reshuffling than straight up firing, so that would be my position. But if you're gonna give me Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau in anything Star Wars, sign me the hell up. Period.
Yes. I think a demotion might be an option. I don't want to give Favreau and Filoni all of the keys yet because I've seen this throughout history where everyone has nothing but unifying fate in a singular figure. I mean, we did that with George Lucas through the prequels, and we saw how that worked out because everyone thought, oh, he can do no wrong, blah, 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 blah. Like, have you ever seen, there's this wonderful documentary attached to the Phantom Menace DVD called Episode 1, The Beginning, and it's just like this fly-on-the-wall footage.
Yep.
There's this particular scene, I think Red Letter Media pointed it out, where everyone in the visual effects team is gathered around as George Lucas is storyboarding sort of the shots that are going to have to be executed for the film. And they kind of look like, oh God, what is good? Is this the movie really? But at the same time, they're going, well, they're probably thinking, well, he's George Lucas, or maybe they're just nervous. Yeah, or maybe they're just nervous because it's a lot of work. But either way,
no one's getting excited.
Yeah, I think if we give Filoni and Favreau all of the keys, eventually they'll drop some balls and then they'll place the blame on them. I think we can leave Kathleen where she is right now. She has a history of being a wonderful producer. I just think that there are other hands in the pot when it came to the sequel trilogy that probably were beyond her control that said, we need this out next year. I mean, the whole reason the sequel didn't work was because Michael Arndt
was rushed.
Yeah, Michael Arndt, who wrote Toy Story 3 and Little Miss Sunshine, didn't have the time to develop the script he wanted to for Episode 7. And if he did, my God, imagine how incredible that script could have been. You know,
and I agree with you about the whole singular trust factor. That typically does not work. DC tried to do that with Zack Snyder. That didn't work. Marvel tried to do that with Joss Whedon. That it started to work, and then it started to crumble a little bit once Age of Ultron came out. But the one way that it has worked, actually two ways. One way it has worked is through Kevin Feige. What Kevin Feige does, I believe, is what Kathleen Kennedy should emulate more of. And I believe that's kind of what Favreau and Filoni have done in a smaller sense. Like, by working with Kevin Feige, they've learned his methodology and they're implicating it. They're implementing it directly in The Mandalorian. And what I mean by that is they're using the Marvel formula, right? And that Marvel formula is, hey, I'm Kevin Feige. I have a grand, connective, cinematic vision, right? And that is, stuff is going to happen. We're going to introduce characters. There's going to be a big battle, like Avengers. Eventually, it's going to build up to Thanos, and then we're going to move on to Phase 5 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like the grand architect, in terms of the vision of things. However, just like Dave Filoni did, and Favreau, they allowed other creatives to fill in the gaps and to do their thing undisturbed. They were like, hey, I mean, what I love about The Mandalorian is the fact that you have so many different, you have Robert Rodriguez, you have Favreau doing an episode, you got all these, Taika Waititi, you got all these different people contributing, and it never feels stale. And that is what works, right? Like, when everyone gets to contribute their individual, unique perspective, but it's all towards a singular goal, that is how you make it work. Not like DC, where Zack Snyder's doing Man of Steel, then he's doing Batman v Superman, then he's doing Justice League, then no. Not like, Joss Whedon, where he's doing, this, and then he's doing that. No. Let other people work while the singular vision plays out. And I think that's what's missing.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of where I think, I have some reservations when it comes to the amount of Star Wars projects that they're doing right now. You know, because it feels like, oh, sorry, my nephew's going crazy in the background.
He wants to get in on the Star Wars talk.
Yeah, no. Right? Star Wars, Davey? But, you know, what I really love about, what I'm curious about what this is, they have so many projects lined up at the same time, but I do like how they have these different directors of different races, of different sexes, ethnicities, and it doesn't seem like it's this condescending sort of, oh, look, we're diverse, like they did with the sequel trilogy. You know, like they had John Boyega, but he, you know, as you saw through his very understandable frustration with Disney, they did nothing with this character.
Nothing.
But here, it's like we have Deborah Chow, who directed my favorite episodes of The Mandalorian in the first season. You know, she did the third one. She did the second to the last one. You know, all of them centered around a character and his story. And then she put in all the action and all the cool shit, like, you know, attached to it. And they're having a lot of people like that attached to it. And I think it just depends on the rollout of these shows and the pace that they do it at, which will keep everyone engaged. Because if they just roll them all out at the same time with no plan and no feedback, then, you know, they're just going to do the same exact thing they did with the sequel trilogy.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, how do you think these will go in the long run with like all these 10 new Star Wars shows that they announced with their big investors sort of conference?
So, one, I do like the fact that they are, you know, employing a lot of different directors. I mean, you know, Patty Jenkins is doing what is that one called?
She's doing Rogue Squadron. She's doing a feature film that's going to be coming out in theaters in 2023. I'm going to guess Disney theaters at that point, but yes.
Yeah. So Rogue Squadron. I mean, you got the one with Cassian.
Yes, we have Andor, the miniseries.
Andor.
We got that. They got
Lando coming.
That's being directed by the guy who did Dear White People. So, I'm sure they're getting Donald Glover back. Everybody loves him, so he's going to be in there.
That'll be interesting. You got the Acolyte. You know, I mean, here's the thing. You have so many different ones that, one, I would say are fan service, like Obi-Wan. You know, that's been requested for decades.
Yes.
So, like, we've been like, what's up with this? But then you have stuff like, you know, the Acolyte, or you have things like the Bad Batch, Rangers of the New Republic, you know. So during that meeting, the investor meeting, when they were talking about all these shows, the one thing that stood out to me the most that really caught my attention was how the Ahsoka show, and I want to say it's the Rangers of the New Republic show, are all taking place at the same time during The Mandalorian. Yeah. And all three shows are actually going to build up to one big climactic cinematic event, or maybe maybe they'll do another show event or something. Whatever it is, all those storylines are going to come together.
That sounds like Marvel.
Right.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm talking about, though? Like, Tony and Favreau, they get it. Like, they're like, oh, this is a formula that works because it keeps people invested. You have to kind of watch everything to kind of get it. And then by the time, you know, the big event comes, it's like the hype is already built up and it works. Yeah. You know, so it's cool. It's cool like that. So that part I'm excited for. Yeah. The other stuff, I have no idea. Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm not very excited for Andor. Me neither. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, it's kind of like, does he discover the second Death Star? Is that the last season? Okay, cool.
Right. You know, like, I kind of know where this is going. Like, some of these felt like, okay, you feel like you're destined to be a filler. Yes. Like, some of you feel like, you know, but
Bad Batch.
Boba Fett's, you know, story. you know, the Acolyte, the Ahsoka, the Obi-Wan, those feel like they might be pushing, again, the narratives, the big overall plot of Star Wars forward, and not just filling in random gaps. You know, so I'm mixed. I'm mixed. I mean, I trust in what I think they're doing now. Yeah, but I do still have some concerns.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was emphasizing the rollout, because I want to see how they're going to strategize this. I think with Obi-Wan, they're going to be in good hands. I really have good faith in Deborah Chow. I'm hoping that they're going to make it more of a character drama, you know, especially if they're casting Hayden Christensen. I don't think they're going to cast him just to shove him in the Darth Vader suit again, like they did with Episode 3. I think what they're going to do is probably put him in flashbacks, sort of reflect on Obi-Wan's regrets and how he could have trained Anakin better, blah, 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 blah. Who knows? I'll probably be wrong, like how I'm wrong about everything. But I do sort of appreciate how a lot of these guys who are involved in a lot of these shows is Favreau and Filoni. If I'm going to guess, they're gonna give them some kind of position. They might replace Kathleen Kennedy. They might be setting that up already. Maybe Kathleen's setting it up herself. Who knows? But a lot of these shows are in good hands. With some of them, I'm just going, why are we doing a show about Lando Calrissian? You know, how much is there to tell? That's like another Han Solo situation.
Exactly.
Like, why are we doing the Bad Batch? The only thing I'd be interested with the Bad Batch is to see why they replaced the clone troopers with stormtroopers. Because I think the Empire would have stayed in control if they had the clone troopers, because they were efficient. Stormtroopers are morons.
Don't get me wrong. They do have potential, right? Like, because if you just go online and look at some of the crazy theories or whatever that are out there, there is potential to, how could I say? There's potential to expand the stories in new, fresh ways and do some revealing stuff. So, for example, let me just throw one theory out there that I forget. I don't know if it was Reddit or wherever I saw it. And this is more so for Mandalorian. But one theory that was out there was that, like, oh, remember that scene where Grogu meets R2? You know, like, there was a thought that, like, wait, R2 saved Grogu from, you know, Order 66, and they remember each other. Right, you know, and like that,
he's the guardian angel on the gates of heaven,
right, you know, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he opened up his compartment and stored Grogu in there or something. I don't know. Whatever the case is, but you know, because like you know, R2D2 and them and 3PO, they're getting their own series also. You know, and supposedly they have a mission that is super secret or whatever. And I'm sitting here like, well, hey, if you were to sit here and tell me that their mission was that they were the ones that saved Grogu and then all of a sudden their minds got wiped or whatever, I'm not terribly opposed to that. You know, like, so if that theory were to play out, and that's what one of these, you know, sideshows is about, I'm okay with that. You know, I mean, I have my own theory about what this big climactic thing is, but I'll save that for a video down the line.
I think
I hope they're bitter. They're more than just fillers. That's all.
Some I think are going to be fillers. Like the droid story, I think is going to be filler. Like if you listen, like how George Lucas wanted to originally develop Star Wars, which who knows how he really wanted to, because he changes his mind like every 5 minutes as to how it was actually going to go. But like one of them was, he said, I was going to follow the story of the droids. You know, it was going to be them. So it's probably paying homage to that in a way. I know that
R2's seen everything.
Yeah, like R2's
been there from the jump, from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's why they wiped his memory in 3POs. If I were to guess, if I were Disney, and if it was the easiest route to go, it's probably what's going to happen in the in-between years with R2 and 3PO, you know, before all the other films. You know, they're probably going to want to answer that one big plot hole where Sir Alec Guinness says, I don't seem to remember owning a droid, you know, so that they can fill that in so fans can stop complaining. But it's like, do I really need that answer? Like some things are better left as a mystery. I mean, the one I'm really excited for because I'm a huge nerd is the Book of Boba Fett. I think I heard it's going to be a miniseries, which I think is just right to do. If I'm going to guess, it's a miniseries leading to the Mandalorian. Of course, I'll be wrong come December, but in the meantime, I can dream. And I'm excited to see Boba Fett having some badass moments. If there was just a whole episode where Boba Fett just kills people for 30 minutes, I'd be happy. But we got to have like a story attached to it. Do you think they're going to ever reveal what happened to him in the Sarlacc pit, or leave it a mystery?
I mean, if you're going to have a whole spin-off story for Boba Fett and you don't show us how this man survived and how he got those scars, like, what are you doing? It's a complete waste. So
I think
better show us that.
I don't know. Like if I were to make the show, I'm just thinking like I would leave it a mystery, but kind of have it as like his driving motivation in the series because
I don't think so. I mean,
no matter what you reveal,
I don't think that's a huge investment.
Yeah.
You know, like if you just want to show us that like, okay, he clawed his way and did this and did that. I mean, like you said, I think that could just be a flashback and I'm fine with that. I don't need a whole series dedicated to it. I don't need a whole episode dedicated to it. But if you want to give it to me in flashbacks, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, like quick, like Nolan sort of flashback cuts, or it's like half a second. Yeah, that would be cool. Sure. I'd be cool with that. Yeah, because I think like no matter what you put on screen, the fans will get mad because it's not what they put in their head. You know, and I've been in that position myself where I'm like, that's not it. You know, but still. I digress, but how long or I guess I could say short will it be before fans could get burnt out from all this Star Wars material?
So that's a great question because I compare that to comic book movie fatigue.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I wrote did I make a video about it? I think I either made a video or I wrote about an article about it a long time ago. And I just said simply that it's not a thing, right? Like people don't get tired of bad content until it's bad. Yeah. You know, So think about like the early 90s and the early 2000s. Like the reason why comic book fatigue happened was because the movie started sucking and the genre was falling apart. It wasn't interesting, you know, and it wasn't until I mean, we had a couple, you know, the Spider-Man 1 and 2, and, you know, then you had like Dark Knight come around. Like you had a couple things pop up here and there, but you still had Fantastic Four in there. You had Superman Returns in there. You had all those Batman movies after, you know, Keaton, you know, that just left a bad taste in people's mouths. And because they were more bad than good, people were like, comic book movies, no thanks. Right. So I think it'll be very similar. But look at Marvel, you know, they're 23 plus movies in and they're still going strong. They're literally breaking records and box office numbers, you know, and they have no signs of slowing down. You look at DC, even in the midst of some of their trouble, they'll still come out with like one or two good movies here and there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people are at the point where they can like, be like, you know what, the entire genre is not in trouble just because, let's say, DC screws up a couple, you know, so the balance is there that there are more good than there are bad. So I think for Star Wars, it's going to be very similar. Unless you get, like, if all we had was just the final 3, you know, trilogy movies, and there was, like, nothing else, or if, let's just say, that pattern continued, that's when we would get fatigued. But again, you got Star Wars Clone Wars, you got Rebels, you got Mandalorian that is breathing new life into, you know, Star Wars fandom right now. All those positive things, I think, outweigh the negatives. So I don't think that they're going to have any real fatigue. But like you said earlier, you know, a Lando show or some of these other shows, if they get too fillery and not as interesting or compelling, that's when people are going to get bored.
Yeah, I think you put it the best way I've ever heard anyone put it. Congratulations! Just when it gets bad,
I think about these things.
yeah, but when it gets bad, people get tired of it. When it gets good, people are interested again. I mean, Batman and Robin. People are like, oh God, I don't care about Batman. But then Batman Begins is announced, and you're going,
yep.
Oh, that's
I'm interested.
That's real Batman. That's actually Batman. And then, as we know, Christopher Nolan became Christopher Nolan, and the rest is history. And I think the same will go with Star Wars. At a certain point, I think we're gonna be riding this gravy train. We're gonna get good Star Wars material, and then one of them is gonna shit the bed, and then we're going to have, they're going to have to sort of recollect their stuff. But this is sort of the waves in which the industry moves,
And I think the timing is also going to matter, right? So, luckily for them, Disney has collectively put all their efforts into everything streaming, because of the pandemic. So nobody's going out shooting big major feature films right now. So because they've dedicated all their departments and resources to the shows, I think that we're going to be lucky enough, hopefully, to get a lot of these things. I would hope one at a time, or like very close, between one another. So if we're getting, the Ahsoka show, like the moment that season finale is done, a week or two later, we should be getting Obi-Wan. Or something like that. It's not like we got to wait 6 to 8 months in between every single thing. So I think that the benefit there is, if there is a show or series that is not that good, it's okay, because we got like another show coming up that hopefully will, get rid of that bad taste in our mouth. So, or maybe they'll just drop them all at the same time. Drop them all at the same time. We'll be too focused on all the different things that we won't even really care about the bad stuff. We'll be like, yeah, that show kind of sucks, but man, did you see this episode on the other show?
Exactly, yeah. Like, yeah, the Bad Batch is kind of lame, but man, you got to say, Obi-Wan was what I always dreamed of. And then, because, like, I mean, if you look at when The Rise of Skywalker came out, it sucked. But the next week, The Mandalorian is going to wrap up, and it was awesome. And we were still into Star Wars, and we could look at one compared to the other and say, well, this is how you should do it, which is why I don't know how Rogue Squadron is going to hit theaters in 2023. That's a whole other discussion. That's about the future of movie theaters. I guess that's for part 3 when I do it 6 months from when I did the last one, as we do them every 6 months. And that one, I think that'll be inside of a Disney theater instead of a AMC or a Regal. But when it comes, I think Disney said a while ago that they were investing exclusively in streaming services. And we could say, oh, Disney's this evil empire, all that, but you know what? They know what they're doing, and they're good at it. Of course, they had to learn from their failures too. When they originally had their whole MCU, The Incredible Hulk wasn't that great. Iron Man 2 wasn't that great, but they quickly picked themselves up, and they were able to build something phenomenal. And I think they're kind of doing this with Star Wars. I'm wondering how they're going to do this where it doesn't feel too similar to what they did with Marvel, but at the same time, I guess they don't have to directly answer to like sort of their A team in a way. They kind of have their entire actual universe, and maybe they'll coincide it to some sort of new trilogy. But I'm not.
Yeah, sure I mean, the closest I think they're borrowing from Marvel is just the format and structure.
Yeah,
because and here's the thing, Marvel's going to be copying from them too. Like we have yet to see an actual MCU show. I mean, WandaVision is coming up really soon.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to be surprised if WandaVision takes its cues from The Mandalorian. Like. Keep in mind, this is all in the same family. It's all in the same house. Yeah. So, how they do the. I mean, look, just I don't know about you, but I recall the fact when like post-credit scenes were not a thing. Like they happened, but no one really cared about them.
Yeah, it was inconsequential. It was silly.
Yeah, it was kind of like, you know, Ferris Bueller, like he would do his little funny thing at the end or whatever. But you know, it wasn't until Marvel came around that people were like, nope, can't leave, gotta wait. Something's happening. You know, so don't be surprised if like Star Wars movies start doing that. You know, later on down the line. So
they already have. You know, we had the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah.
Exactly, because they know those are things that get people going and get people talking, and it's a cool little thing. So I see those similarities happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess taking the Mandalorian forward, I really like the fact that they got rid of the baby because he's gonna. Well, it's going to be a crutch, you know, and you got to get rid of it, you know, or else you're going to be dependent on it. And they were going to be if they didn't. So I guess going forward, how can they really develop the series without Grogu or Baby Yoda or whatever you want to call him, where it'll hold people's interests?
Whew, man, that is tough. One, I think that this is the benefit of, first of all, I don't think he's going to be gone for long.
No, like, they'll bring him back. He's too much of a money maker. You can't.
Exactly. You know, Disney knows where the money is, right? Like, you know, I've always told people, like, yo, this is the Grogu and Mando show. Like, that's okay. Forget the Mandalorian. No, it's Grogu and Mando. But my expectation / theory is that Mandalorian is going to focus on being a Mandalore, like an actual Mandalorian on Mandalore. Like, you do have the complexity of where season 2 left off, where Mando is the actual rightful ruler, you know, with the Darksaber and all that.
He's got the MacGuffin,
You've got the political aspect that you can throw in there, and that's obviously throwing Bo-Katan in a compromising situation because she's got to be like, well, do I challenge you for this? Or, like, do I have to kill you for this? Because she can't just go ahead and just accept it from him, you know, because as Moff Gideon said, it's the story that matters. You know, it's not just the fact that you have it, it's the story around it. Yeah. So,
unless he's her sister.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I get the impression that there's probably going to be a war of some sort, maybe another big civil war on Mandalore. And I think the cool way for them to, you know, build up season 3 is to really just show us more of Mandalore, show us more of the culture, show us through Mando specifically, show us like how he's reconciling with being one of the children of the Watch, you know, of Death Watch, and how his because you know he treats it like a religion or a creed or whatever. Like, we see him kind of opening up and developing as a character, and I think that if we put him into that mix where now he's exposed to different types of Mandalorians, different perspectives within Mandalorians and stuff, and dealing with the actual history of Mandalore and the potential future of it, those things will be engaging for a couple of episodes, you know. But my opinion, I think, is there's going to be some big war, similar to Luke Skywalker when his friends were in trouble in what was it? Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. And he was like, all right, Yoda, I gotta go. And Yoda's like, yo, your training's not done. He's like, yeah, but my friends are in trouble. I think the same thing's gonna happen to Grogu. Like, he's gonna sense that Mando's in trouble some way, somehow. And he's gonna be like, all right, Grogu, you know, all right, Master Luke, I gotta go. You know? And Luke's gonna be like, you know what? I understand. I get it. Go ahead. You know, like training's not done, but go ahead.
Grogu is going to be like, one of your mentors is going to lose his shit. They're not going to say that, but he's going to know it. And Grogu's going to be like, hey, I got to bounce because something's going to go down.
And I just think that, you know, the smart way for Disney to do this is take your big moneymaker away only to set up the return. Yeah. You know, so like when he comes back and Grogu is like a complete badass, that is blowing people away.
Oh man,
You know,
are they gonna Grogu Yoda as they did in episode 2? He's gonna be jumping around like,
why not? I mean, if that's the way he learns, sure. You know what? I mean, I don't care. I think that people are just gonna be happy that he's back. Like they're gonna do enough.
Oh god, yeah. There'll be like internet reaction videos and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like there'll be enough episodes where I don't want to say we forget about Grogu, but we'll be so deep into whatever's going on with Mando that by the time Grogu comes back, we'll be like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, like who just threw that rock out of nowhere? Oh, it was Grogu, you know. So
yeah.
I think that's how they will go about it. But that's just my thought. I don't know. Like maybe. I don't know.
Well, the wonderful thing that Filoni and Favreau do with the show is that it's both predictable and unpredictable. We know these characters are going to come in. We know that all the stuff we know is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, okay, at a certain point, Boba Fett's going to come in here. At a certain point, but then we don't know how they're going to come in or why. Like, the way they brought in Boba Fett was wonderful because he made that final cameo at the end of the first episode of the second season or chapter or whatever. And then we forgot about him. We're like, what happened to Boba Fett? And boom, he comes in on that episode that's like, I mean, I remember I saw the length. I'm like, oh, God, only 35 minutes. This is going to suck. You know, and then I saw Slave One and then, you know, immediately I clutched my pearls. I was so excited. Yeah, and of course they set it up for the television show with Tamora Morrison doing it. Maybe he can get rid of that cloak underneath the suit so people can stop unrightfully calling him Dad Bod Boba Fett. Because he's ripped. That dude's an insane shit. As a guy who used to box, it's insane like what he does. But I think for season 3 of Mando, I mean, if I were to make my nerdy predictions, you know, he took his helmet off in front of everyone. He, like, on 2 occasions, one of them, everyone died. Cool. Except for, you know, Bill Burr, who saw him. Or whatever his character's name is. It's Bill Burr. But then at the end of the season, he takes it off in front of everyone. He just pissed all over the code. I think he's going to go. He's going to retire on that grass planet in, like, the 4th episode in the first season with that girl. He's gonna live a normal life. But
you know what?
He's got that dark saber, and that's gonna bring everyone back to him, and he's gonna have to get involved in Mandalore.
That's true. I mean, they got the dark saber issue, but my only thing is just the fact that, like, you know, again, what Kathleen Kennedy was talking about. Season 3 is not going to be it. Like, there's no sunset, right? There's still some other big climactic thing that's going to happen beyond that. And I'm sitting here like, okay, that sounds like stuff is really going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's it.
Season 3.
It's going to connect with Ahsoka. It's going to connect with Grand Admiral Thrawn. And it's going to connect with, I think, Mando or Din Djarin having this dark saber. He just wants to chill, and everyone's like, no, you have the weapon, you must fight. I don't want to fight for it. Well, here's this huge war, as you said, on Mandalore, and now you're going to get involved in it, and now we got this whole other can of worms that opened up. And I think at the end of the series he'll be together with Grogu as son.
Now that you mentioned it, though, and it's kind of got me thinking, I would not be surprised if, whether it's season 3 or maybe the final finale climactic thing, they kill Din Djarin.
Ooh,
they kill him.
I don't think they'll do that. I think
here's the thing.
He'll be Grogu's dad. I think they'll walk.
Remember what you said. They're predictable, right? But we just don't know how. I'm just sitting here thinking to myself. And I don't know if you saw this also, it was behind the scenes where Filoni was talking about the philosophy and the underlying, you know, themes under Star Wars, like all of Star Wars, every single Star Wars, everything.
Qui-Gon wasn't Anakin's father figure because he got killed off, and Obi-Wan had to sort of be like a brother.
Exactly. Has any father figure really lived?
Yeah, that's the thing.
You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a pattern there.
George really wanted his dad.
I'm just saying. Look, I mean, hey, it's no.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding around, man.
No, it's no different than Liam Neeson always having his wife die in a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like,
except
I feel
this time Liam Neeson was taken from Ewan McGregor. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, and I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen Clone Wars, but or Rebels. Yeah. But the father mentor thing, doesn't always last for some people, So, and don't get me wrong, it makes for a great emotional, situation. And I think the thing with Star Wars has always been, how does that event affect the other person? Right? Because when you don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like when you don't have that father figure or that mentor figure, you could either go dark, Darth Vader, or maybe you end up like Luke, just going more good. I mean, I guess Ben Solo's kind of he's in a sticky situation with that, but again, we did see what ended up happening with his dad too. So, I'm just saying, like, I think they're playing loosey-goosey with the father mentor figures, and I think they're up for grabs, man. Like,
I'm wondering how they do like a follow-up, like Din dies, we go to Dark Grogu. Would that be like?
I've been saying.
Would that be like a cartoon series? Because like on screen, you couldn't do the whole thing with a puppet. They'd probably give it the cartoon treatment,
I mean, first of all, he's gonna have to start talking or something.
Doesn't he communicate telepathically? I don't know.
I mean, through the Force, I guess.
Immediately when he starts talking, people are gonna be like, "Oh, that's not what I thought he sounded like." I guess. But whatever. At a certain point, you gotta tell.
He's got dark tendencies already.
Oh yeah,
he's shown it multiple times.
Yeah,
Force choking.
He's knocking around those stormtroopers like action figures. Yeah,
he's throwing them around and stuff. I'm like, I was actually kind of surprised that Luke was like, "Yeah, come on with me." I'm like, wait a minute, Luke, you don't sense that dark side in him?
Yeah,
come on, Luke, of all people.
Dude, that's why he failed Ben.
Right.
He's gonna fail Ben, and Din's gonna be like, "You're okay, Grogu," and Grogu's gonna be doing some bad stuff, man.
There's a history. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess from there, I think I kind of got everything off my chest with this. But I am actually looking forward to what Disney's going to do with Star Wars. I think they're, at first a lot of people were like, "Why are they doing streaming only?" But they're really kind of evolving the platform. I mean, the way they're utilizing the Unreal Engine with rear projection, where it's like a 3D set, and they have like an iPad that can control the lighting, they can control the background of the scene, is exactly what George Lucas did, in 1977, where he revolutionized visual effects, and I'm thrilled to see where they're going to take it. I think for now, we shouldn't react too much as to who should be running Disney or not, because the best thing a leader can do is to stop and listen. Does that have political implications? I don't know. Figure it out for yourself. It's open for interpretation. I'm David Lynch. All right, Eman, thank you so much for coming on. You can check him out at Eman's Movie Reviews. You can find that on YouTube. You can just Google it, find his website. Is it EmansReviews.com?
Yeah.
Okay, close enough.
Yeah. No, it
is. Yeah. But no, man, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time out of your day to do this. I'm excited. It's something to look forward to this year, outside of the vaccine. And again, you can catch me at You'll Probably Agree or YPA Reviews. And thank you so much, folks. And may the Force be with you. And as you can see, my Boba Fett character is leveled up to, I think, beyond level 20 now. I'm almost fully leveled up. All right. Thanks so much, folks, and have a good one. Bye.
See ya.
I've been tracking you, Mandalorian. I'm here for the armor.
If you want my armor, you'll have to peel it off my dead body.
I don't want your armor. I want my armor.